Yeah, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Rambling Dudes. We're missing one today, but I guess he'll show up someday.
He's just gonna pop in randomly.
Oh, there you go. Right in my face.
See, he's here in spirit. Because
Exactly.
now the thumbs up and it's all good.
Exactly.
Covering somebody's face. It's all good.
Yeah. So today is gonna be just us. We got Trevor, and he's the expert in wrestling, but we're gonna talk about other things too. And then Yadiel or Yadi, whatever you want to call me. Yeah, welcome to the Rambling Dudes. Savadu in Ryan's language.
Zabadoo.
But you had something that you saw.
So as you can tell by the jacket, of course, I did go see the new Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
How was that?
I'm not gonna spoil anything, but it was really good. If you liked Afterlife,
you can spoil it. I'm gonna put it on the thing. I haven't watched it, but I don't mind having movies.
All right.
Ryan is not here, which is the one who didn't want it.
Gotcha. That's fair.
Oh, but yeah.
I would say, I mean, it picks up, what was it, like 5 years after Afterlife, technically.
Okay.
It might not be 5 years, it might be 3 years. Basically, they're in New York. It's Gruberson, Paul Rudd, Carrie Coon's character. What's her, something Spangler. I cannot think of her first name. And the mom. And then you got Trevor and you got Phoebe Spangler, and they're busting ghosts in New York, and trying to just make things work. It seems like they're kind of just trying to make it work on their own, and then they end up bumping into Winston after a particular job goes bad. There's a cool cameo. I won't spoil that. I'm not going to spoil that. There's a cool cameo from a past character. He shows up and basically they are told that if Phoebe's going to continue to work for them, they're not going to be able to operate because she's only like 15 in the movie. So they're like, child labor laws and all that stuff. And so she gets really mad because she's benched. And I mean, she's very passionate about it and everything like that. She loves the idea of being a Ghostbuster and carrying on her grandfather's legacy and stuff like that. So she kind of does her own thing. There's a cool, like, they bring in Ray Stantz a lot more. Like the original team is back in a lot of ways. Now, granted, Venkman, not so much, because Bill Murray is notorious about he'll show up when he shows up kind of situation. Ernie Hudson, aka Winston, is now kind of like the Nick Fury of the Ghostbusters universe. He's funding a lot of like research. You meet a new research guy who's working in this like kind of underground lab in an old aquarium.
Yeah.
And Lucky shows up again from Afterlife. And they discover new ways to not only bust ghosts, but they also figure out that they're going to have to transport all the ghosts from the old firehouse to the new one because the big containment grid is just not going to hold anything anymore. So you have a lot of that. There's a lot of kind of like expansion of lore in this one. They change a few things. Not change it. I shouldn't say change. They give you new stuff that they can do. Like there's a really cool scene where Phoebe does something that they've never done in the series before. And then we meet a new ghost who is not so much like, you always see like the kind of the puppet ghost, like Slimer, who's just like this blob. And you've got all the other ones like the Scarelli brothers from number 2, who are just like these overt comical looking ones. She's kind of a normal, she died when she was 15. She said that she died in a fire that her parents also died in. So she's kind of a tragic character, but she meets Phoebe and she's this cool ghost because of she's normal looking, and she's actually surprised that Phoebe's not like terrified of her. So they get to meet each other, and it kind of gives Phoebe a friend while still allowing her to be a part of the team and everything like that as well. So a lot of cool stuff. One neat thing is the opening scene is really cool because they kind of expand upon the Ghostbusters lore in the sense of there was this old society back in like the 1800s who were these just group of really rich white dudes who, when they're rich, they go up to this room and they smoke cigars and play with like paranormal artifacts.
Mm.
And that's kind of what kind of introduces you to the big bad in this one, that big horn thing that you see in the
Yeah.
trailer. And they played they find them in this room and they're all frozen, like they're all just like in like horrified expressions. And it kind of gives you a little bit of insight of what this guy can do. So it's pretty neat. I don't want to go too far into it.
Yeah, that's fine.
But like it's really good. If you liked Afterlife, you'll like it. I know it's getting a lot of like flack online, but I mean, what doesn't these days?
Yeah, people are just too picky with
Yeah.
movies nowadays. It's their expectation of things is just
Oh, yeah.
what's gonna happen like it's
Yeah.
just too much.
It's a lot of that. Like I think Marvel kind of not. I don't even want to blame Marvel necessarily, but I feel like a lot of the Marvel movies kind of gave people this expectation of it's going to lead to something bigger,
It's gonna
and
be epic.
yeah, and it's just like, I mean, yeah, it's cool and it's a standalone story, but if you're expecting, the next coming of Endgame, you're gonna be disappointed. It's
Right.
just how it goes. But yeah, as a Ghostbusters fan, as an avid fan, for years, it's a lot of fun. I was really glad we saw it. Me and my wife, especially, at least want to go see it again. And I should have brought it with me. I got a popcorn tin that
Did you get the
I didn't get the trap one.
Okay.
That one was $40 and they were sold out. So,
of course. Yeah.
but we went to the theater we went to. They had one that was like a standard like rectangle tin that looks like the firehouse.
Oh, nice.
So like it's got the front of the firehouse with like ice on the bottom. You see Slimer in the window.
Yeah.
Other side is like the side of the building, and then on the other side is the big logo with like the ice on it.
Oh, okay.
So it is pretty cool. And like I was gonna get something else. They had they called them shoulder buddies, and it was a little mini puffed. Those little,
like the marshmallow.
yeah, it was one of those, and then they had like a Ghostbusters pillow that was just the logo, and that was cool too. I was almost gonna get the mini buddy, but my wife was like, "Wouldn't you rather have the popcorn tin?" And I was like, "You know what? I actually would rather have the popcorn tin." So, but it was cool. We picked that up, and it's at the house now, and I have enough Ghostbusters stuff that I usually put out around Halloween or Christmas. That's gonna go right with it. So
Nice.
it's cool. I have the firehouse now.
Is Ghostbuster your go-to theme for Halloween?
It depends. My wife and I have been trying to come up with like kind of we like a lot of old Halloween stuff. Like we try to do like kind of more Edgar Allan Poe, Addams Family stuff. I have recently been able to get more Ghostbusters stuff, so that's kind of where like we at least have a Ghostbusters section in our Halloween stuff. So that's really what that was. Building my own proton pack. I'm actually part of a chapter of the Ghostbusters in Lansing.
Okay.
But I'm still working on everything. Still got to put my suit together. Still got to sew on the patches and stuff like that. I was actually wearing this hoodie when I got noticed. I went out on Free Comic Book Day 2 years ago now. Was it 2 years ago? It was a while ago. And I was wearing this because I heard they were going to be at Free Comic Book Day. And I was like, oh, I got to meet the Lansing ones, because I always thought it was just like Detroit and Traverse City has like their own branch and everything like that. So I was like, okay. And one of the guys saw my jacket and he asked me, he goes, hey, what group are you part of? I'm like, I'm not a part of a group. He goes, well, come meet Pat and come meet Ryan. And I met those guys and they were like, yeah, absolutely. Like, come on in. And, so I started getting all my stuff and everything like that.
Nice.
So, and they do a lot of like cool charity stuff. They actually did I think it was NCG or Celebration. I wasn't part of that because I wasn't able to make it, but they actually had an Ecto one out there, took pictures with people if they wanted pictures and stuff like that. It's really cool. And like whenever you go to like certain conventions, there's always a Ghostbuster chapter there. Like you go to Motor City and there's always the Detroit ones, and they always have like a big section. Like last year they had like about 6 or 7 of them, and then they had one of the Ectos. They had a giant Stay Puffed like inflatable and stuff like that. So they do a lot of cool stuff. And like if you're ever like curious as to why people do it, there's a documentary called Ghost Heads.
All right.
And that's basically what they call fans that are big Ghostbusters fans. And like Matt Cardona, aka Zack Ryder, is a big Ghostbusters nut. Like as a wrestler, like he was asked because he bought like a custom one like for his thing, and they're like, oh, why'd you do that? He goes, I love it. Like, why wouldn't I? And like he dresses up and stuff. And a lot of people that you just wouldn't really think much It's funny because you always see like this kind of stigma around nerds of like, oh, well, they dress up, but what do they really do? These guys visit hospitals. They visit people who that's all they want. Like there was one guy, he was telling a story about how there was a kid and all he wanted while he was getting treatment in the hospital was to meet a Ghostbuster. So they came there, they made him an honorary member of their group and stuff. It was cool.
That's awesome.
So
I didn't know there was such a big group of people that were doing that.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, that documentary kind of really opened my eyes to it because I've always been a Ghostbusters fan, but I never really thought much about it. I didn't really think about it, so I went to Comic-Con one year, and there was a guy. He had like the slime blower from number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And he had that attachment. It was blowing bubbles.
Oh, nice.
And so he was doing that and then playing the video games and stuff and just getting into it, and loving the genre, the lore, the characters and everything like that. Yeah. And then to learn that every state has at least one Ghostbusters chapter is really cool. And like,
that's pretty cool.
You'll see their badges. Like they have the yellow and black stripe that you see on like the ghost traps,
mm-hmm.
but they have them like in like the shape of their state. The New Jersey one particularly is kind of cool because it's just like it's the regular like no ghost sign, but it's got the New Jersey state in it and stuff like that. And Ernie Hudson and Ray, almost said Ray Stan Aykroyd mm-hmm. are big fans of the fans. They're like, yeah, these guys do good work. They kind of help the spirit live on and everything like that. Or there's a scene where Ernie Hudson's meeting people and when they want him to sign something, he always asks like what branch they're in, and he'll like look at their shoulder. And at the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire premiere, Michigan Ghostbusters, who they're kind of, I think they're more based in Detroit area as well, just because there's like kind of that groundswell over there. But
yeah,
they were there and they met like Mackenzie Grace, who plays Phoebe, and gave her a state of Michigan Ghostbusters patch and stuff like that. So they're really getting into it too. They're really, as like, I always feel like with Paul Rudd, especially in these new movies, you can tell he's just a fan of Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
So like to see him go out there and just be like, act like how I would act, like, oh, I'm doing this. This is so cool. It's just, it's really fun to watch for sure.
Yeah.
Good movie for sure. If you liked Afterlife, you'll like this one.
Yeah. Recently, I got to watch it with my kids. I don't think the little one was into it that much, but at the end he was actually okay. He was watching from behind the couch.
Oh, gotcha.
Just peeking out like this. But I liked it a lot actually, and I can't believe it took me so long to watch it just because I was waiting for a streaming service to have it on, and I never actually saw it, so I ended up buying it. But no regrets.
Yeah, for sure.
I will definitely buy the next one coming up. Hopefully I'll get to go to the movie theater because I do want to. I want to go see it.
Yeah, go on like a Tuesday, $5 Tuesdays. Just take the family and just go. $20 for that, and I mean, really get you is concessions, but I mean that's any theater anymore. Right. So
I don't know if I'll take the kids, but I'll probably
at least go. Enjoy it. So
I'll definitely go.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, like that's a good thing to have in like for the kids though. Like they're I didn't know there were still fans before the Afterlife. Like before that one, I didn't know there were still younger fans.
Right. Well, like that was the thing. Like when the all female cast. Which originally was just titled Ghostbusters, and then after it didn't do very well comparatively, they changed it to Ghostbusters Answer the Call to kind of differentiate it and everything. And I remember my wife and I, we were actually it was our dating anniversary at the time. And we were out of town. We were staying in a hotel. And we're like, well, what do you want to do? And she's like, I don't know. She goes, oh, what do you want to see a movie? Like we're out and about, might as well go do something. And we went and saw that one. And I was just surprised at the hate it got. I was just like, this is really good. It does have its problems, like any movie though. Like it's never a problem. The cast is great. I mean, you got Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Leslie Jones, and Kate McKinnon. I'm sorry, but Kate McKinnon steals that whole movie. She's so great as Holtzman. She's just that wacky, kooky, really brilliant character who you're just like like you scare me, but I would follow you anywhere kind of vibe. And like, so that was really what kind of where I got kind of kicked into gear about being more of a fan again. Cause I watch the originals all the time. I watch the original one all the time. Two, I kind of got suckered into that whole like, oh, two isn't good. Two's great. Two's great too. I mean, it has its issues, but it's still good.
Yeah.
And then after that, I watched the Ghostbusters doc, and like that's the thing with the fandom too is there was a woman on there. She talked about how Ghostbusters helped her quit drinking. Oh. She had a boyfriend at the time, and he said there were a lot of times where I had to take care of her. Like I had to make sure she was okay. And she said I was kind of sleeping one off, and she goes, I put on Ghostbusters. She goes, I had heard of it, and I hadn't watched it. She goes, there was just something so good about it that I realized it kind of helped me feel better about myself. And she kind of really got into it. And now her boyfriend actually, through his connections with some other Ghostbusters fans, the director, Ivan Reitman, helped him propose to his girlfriend, propose to her. And she said, I've been sober for a while now. She goes, this really helped me out. Their whole wedding was going to be Ghostbusters themed and stuff like that. But it's cool because like, you always hear about the big ones. You always hear about like Marvel and Star Wars. Right. And it's not that there's anything wrong with those fandoms by any stretch. Well, there's something wrong with some of the people in the fandom, but it's one of those things like you always hear about those, but you don't really hear about these like kind of niche groups. Like my wife forever was really big into Supernatural, the TV show. Yeah. And I know for a fact that's got a big following.
Yeah. My buddy and his sister, Luis and Lola, they are really big fans of Supernatural.
Yeah. And like, and she got me into it because I always thought it was charmed with dudes. I was just like, I don't really like Charms, so I'm not really gonna like this. I like Alyssa Milano. I'm not, I'm a red-blooded American, but I was just like, I just thought it was charmed with guys, and I was just like, why would I thought it was for girls. I really did. I was like, oh, it's just for the hot dudes and the cool, Car was cool, but I was just like, whatever. Well, I don't remember what season it was. It was probably, I want to say 6 or 7 maybe. There was an episode that was very reminiscent of the X-Files, and they do it on purpose. They kind of an homage. And my wife had me watch that. She goes, if you like this, I'll have you watch the pilot, and then you can decide if you want to watch it. Well, the pilot is one of the best pilots in TV history. I was in. I was like, okay, I'm sold. And she would loan me her DVDs, and then I would watch them. And then I'd be like, okay, and like I was lucky because like I started when they were pretty far into the series.
You can binge it.
Yeah, I can get through a lot and not have those cliffhangers be unresolved. And then we kept watching. We got to season 8 and it was really rough by then. And because as much as a lot of fans love the whole series, my wife, myself, very much a fan of they should have just ended it in season 5 because that was the original creator Eric Kripke's idea was to end it at season 5. He had a 5-year story, told the story phenomenally, and then the network is like, well, this is a great rating show. Let's just keep going. We can do that, right? And he's like, well, I guess. And he kind of stayed on as a producer for the rest of the show, but it kind of loses its way in season 6 because they were scrambling to keep it going. 7's more of the same, and then 8, it's just like.
Is 7 the one that they did like a musical or something like that?
I think that was 8. That might have been 7. That episode isn't bad. Like it's so funny how many shows do that now. They're like, we got to have a musical episode because Buffy did it, and I think Buffy's the first one I remember that they did like a musical episode, and then Scrubs did it. All their shows do it. It's kind of you have to do a musical episode now, and they did one, and I liked how they did it because it's the brothers investigating a case at a high school where in the show Supernatural stories are books. They don't realize that Sam and Dean are real people. They think it's just a book series.
Gotcha.
And so these fans are it's like an all-girl cast doing a performance of Supernatural the musical, and it's actually pretty good. It's funny, it's entertaining, and they don't give you like the full show proper, but they do some cool stuff, and it was all right. I mean, I was glad when it ended. Like 15 seasons is too many seasons. For me.
That's how many they have.
I think it was 15. I'm pretty sure because like I remember thinking they were going to end it on 13. Like that'd be kind of perfect given the subject matter, but they ended at 15 and. That last 4 episodes, I'm like, thank goodness it's over. Like,
I never watched it.
Yeah,
it's one of those like that's on my list. I never watch Game of Thrones. Never watch the new Game of Thrones thing.
Oh, House of the Dragon or something like that.
Yeah, there's a few shows out there that have their fan base. It's just not for me.
Yeah, Game of Thrones was one I struggled. I was surrounded by fans, like at my job and like when I worked, with you when I worked there. Half of my coworkers were just like, "Oh, did you watch the episode?" I'm like, I don't watch the show. Like I just, and it wasn't that I thought it would be bad or anything. It's just a lot of that content. I'm not into it. Like
Right.
I really struggle with fantasy stuff, and it's not that I'm not a fantasy fan. I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. Willow as a child terrified me. I don't know why to this day. And everybody always goes to like, I don't know if you've ever seen that Willow with like Warwick Davis. He's oh man, I don't even know the whole premise of it. That's how bad I am now. But there was like I don't know what it was about that show. It creeped me out. The movie just creeped me out. And everybody's like, well, it's probably the big transformation scene because like the witch curses a bunch of soldiers and turns them into pigs or whatever. That part didn't bother me. It was just everything leading up to that was just scary to me for some reason. And that was when I just like, as far as fantasy goes, I'm very picky. Like love Lord of the Rings, cannot not love Lord of the Rings. I mean, I've never watched the Hobbit movies because I just didn't care. Like the Hobbit is a book that should have been one movie. I appreciate that Peter Jackson wanted to make it a trilogy. He was probably forced to do it, all this stuff. But it's just like, I see like when Guillermo del Toro was supposed to do it and his design for the Smaug, the dragon was so cool. It was like, instead of like the traditional like kind of alligator mouth dragon where like it's just like this, he had it to where it almost had like a human mouth. And it was just like, it was just super very Del Toro but very creepy, and I'm like, that would be cool to see on the big screen. I was actually mildly excited. I'm like, oh, don't make me watch it. Well, then Del Toro left and they brought in Peter Jackson as kind of a like, we need you to make this. And it suffers because there's a lot of green screen in it. There's a lot of just like they had to do it because of the time constraints they had. Because like Lord of the Rings, most of that is practical effect. Like the forced perspective to make Frodo look way smaller than Gandalf and stuff like that. Whereas this one, a lot of it is green screen and just making people look small and everything like that. And it doesn't have the same heart in my eyes.
Yeah, I remember watching all the Hobbit movies, but I don't remember watching. I did watch them, but I don't remember much of the Lord of the Rings.
Gotcha.
Because at the time it was more. It was either like a Harry Potter fan or Lord of the Rings. So
right? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and I was more of a Harry Potter fan.
I was definitely more of a Lord of the Rings fan.
But nowadays, it's I just find any fight with anything silly.
Yeah.
My wife still likes Lord of the Rings. She's refused to watch Harry Potter.
Oh, gotcha.
But one day.
It's one of those things like I watched the movies of Harry Potter. I've never read the books. I've just never really had an interest. It's funny because when they got big, it was around the age range that I should have been reading them. Like I was definitely in that age range. I was very much an Animorphs kid though. Like Animorphs I'm very a sci-fi kid. Like magic and stuff is cool. I'm not disparaging anybody who likes magic as a genre. It just, for me, I struggle with it sometimes, which is funny because I'll watch like X-Men and stuff where it's basically magic. I mean, I know it's their mutations and stuff like that. Right. Don't get mad at me, Marvel fans. But like, I like powers and stuff, but like, I think I was in this weird headspace of like, oh, it's not American, so I don't care. I was just convincing myself. Plus, I didn't know this, but at the time, the author of Animorphs is actually from Michigan.
Oh, okay.
So that was kind of a cool thing to figure out in my adulthood.
I don't think I ever heard of Animorph.
They did a TV show in what was that? Late 90s.
Oh, that's probably why.
Yeah, probably late 90s. Basically, the premise of Animorphs is these 5 kids. Yeah, it's Jake, Rachel, Marco, Tobias, and I feel really awful I cannot remember her name, and another girl. They are on their way. They end up cutting through a construction site, and they see this ship like crash land, and this kind of half horse, half human, like basically a centaur with like a different head. Blue alien stumbles out of the ship, and he says you have to protect the human race from. They're called the Yerks. They're like these slug-like creatures that when they get inside you, they wrap around your brain and they control you. And he gives them the power to morph. Basically, they touch any animal that they find, they can absorb its kind of DNA pattern, and then they can transform into that animal to like fight the Yerks and stuff. And it gets really heavy at the end. I remember being just kind of cool. Like you kind of get this sense of overall dread because like the Yerks are infiltrating like the mayor is under control. A few other people. You find out one of the characters, one of the main 5, his mom was controlled by one. Like she was actually like they faked her death to take over her brain because she's like got like access to like top secret stuff or whatever. And it gets really heavy by the end. There's actually like a big war and stuff, and it's cool, but it's really good. But they actually just started.
This is a show, right? Not a
well.
a
That was the book, yeah. And then they did the show, yeah. The show I can't remember. It was on Nickelodeon, I think, and it starred like a young Sean Ashmore. Do you ever play Quantum Break? Or what else was he in? He's been in a few video games. He's been he's a blonde guy. He's got a twin brother actually. He's been in a few movies and stuff. And actually his brother is in The Rookie, the show with Nathan Fillion. I wanted to say Fillion. Yeah, Nathan Fillion.
I'm so bad with names.
No worries. He was what was Nathan Fillion big for a while? He was on Buffy and a few other things. Anyway, long story short. They did a show. The show did pretty well. It didn't obviously finish out the series. There was a lot of books to get through, but that was like my jam in like middle school and high school around the time that Harry Potter was big for a lot of my peers. And so I just never really got into the books, but I did enjoy the movies. I wish J.K. Rowling would stop tweeting. That's just a personal thing. Like, you know, I mean, you don't have to agree with me or not, but like, she's one of those people that I honestly feel like has ruined her legacy because she just feels like she has to say stuff. And like, I'm not against activists or activism, but when I feel like it comes from a place that isn't rooted in activism, it's rooted more in like kind of bigotry and hate. I struggle with that, especially when you've made a genre, or not a genre so much, but as a license that thousands and thousands of millions of people love this, like from all different walks of life, who are just really big into it. And then like you say things that alienate those fans. It's like, okay, I get it. These are your opinions, but you're intrinsically tied to this thing that this person loved for years, and now you've made it not for them. Why did you do that? And I'm not saying that you can't have an opinion. Orson Scott Card has some weird opinions. I still love Ender's Game. You know, I don't agree with everything he says. I mean, this is a guy who declared war on the United States to prevent gay marriage. You know, there's just some stuff. You know, you got to go through your own thing, man. But it's just one of those things. It's like. It bums me out, you know, not to get too heavy or anything like that, and not to make it sound like I'm on a soapbox or anything like that. But I appreciate what she has done. I appreciate what she created. I appreciate that a lot of fans love it. I got sucked into it too. I mean, when my wife and I went to Florida, we went to the Harry Potter stuff. We got wands. We got, you know, like she got Queenie from the Fantastic Beasts. Wand, and I got Dumbledore's before he gets the Elder Wand, and I like it. It's cool. It's very much something I would enjoy. But I always wanted to play Quidditch. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I actually have the.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I not too long ago we went to a park near Okemos.
Okay.
And we were into the parks for the kids and whatnot, but then we see this people playing, and I'm like, that looks like Quidditch, and they were legit playing Quidditch.
Oh yeah,
there.
yeah.
I didn't know it was a thing.
Yeah, I remember there was back when G4 was still a TV show channel, excuse me. Sorry, gosh. Back when they were still a station, Ryan Dunn and Jessica Chobot did a show where they were gonna like make things happen, and one of them was to actually do Quidditch on brooms that floated. So they had a broom like harnessed to a ton of balloons, and so they would fly around, and the golden snitch was on a drone and stuff like that. And that stuff is funny to me. That stuff is cool, and that's the thing about Harry Potter is like when we went to Universal, I wanted a Quidditch jersey, but I wanted one with like my name on it. I didn't want Potter or Diggory or any of those guys. So I wanted all that stuff, but it's just one of those things. Like I love how many. It's always funny to me, like you mentioned how you didn't know how there was like a big Ghostbusters group, but I mean it's true. Like the only ones that you ever see in stores now are Marvel, which is a big brand. I understand it. Harry Potter, and probably like some more modern TV shows like the Funko Pops are all over with like different, shows and movies and everything like that. So it's just cool for like Ghostbusters to kind of, I feel, get like its day in the sun. It's not just this 80s, 90s comedy. It's very much a franchise. Yeah. I mean, I have Spirits Unleashed where you make your own custom Ghostbuster and you fight ghosts and you can play it again. You can play with other people. Cy White they're actually on What Culture. She actually is a big Ghostbusters fan. And we started talking on Twitter just kind of randomly, and we follow each other and stuff. And we chat every once in a while and stuff like that. We don't really it's not like she's not like my buddy or anything. I'm not going to be that bold, but it's just cool to know that somebody who for a living, they talk video games and everything like that is a big Ghostbusters fan and is aware of somebody else who is also a big Ghostbusters fan.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
There's a game, I think it's an Oculus game, and one of those VR games that is a Ghostbuster game, and it looked pretty cool. From all the games I've seen, that one looked pretty cool.
There was I don't remember when this was. This is probably 2017. There was a place called The Void. Originally, it was only in Utah. It was a fully immersive VR experience. You put the headset on, you get a backpack, and instead of like it not being there and I'm trying to touch stuff, they would actually put it tactile. Like if I had the headset on, like this microphone would be right here and like everything, and like I could touch it in VR and it would be mapped like that way. So, and there was a Ghostbusters one that was in the Toronto location. And that was like one of the only reasons I wanted to go to Toronto. I was like, I just want to do this. And it's cool because with the backpack on, they give you like a gun. So that's your neutrino thrower and you're busting ghosts that way. Well, we went to, my wife and I, we went to visit Florida. We went to visit a friend, and then it sucked because we went to visit our friend and then he got called away on a business meeting. Literally the next day it was gone in California for like 4 of the 5 days we were there. So, but he's like, hey, take me to the airport and you can use my car and go do what you want. So we went to Disney Springs in Orlando, and they had a Void there, and they had a Wreck-It Ralph one and a Star Wars one. And the Wreck-It Ralph one, the guy told me, he goes, it's more action. He goes, it's like you're doing more stuff. He goes, the Star Wars one is more story. So I asked my wife, I was like, do you want to do Star Wars or do you want to do Wreck-It Ralph? She goes, this is your thing. What do you want to do? I was like, oh, we're doing Star Wars then, because naturally. So that one is actually set around the events it's before the events of Rogue One. You actually meet Cassian, and he has a mission for you. You have to infiltrate the Vader's palace on Mustafar, and you have to reclaim this like old relic from like way back in Jedi lore or whatever. So you dress up as stormtroopers, and when you get there, they ask you to pick a color, like your favorite color, and then you like a few other things. And then I found out that once it clicks on, it maps it. So like I was looking at my hand, I had a stormtrooper glove on. Like my arm was armor, and like the color that I picked was actually like the patch on my hand. My wife had the same thing. And what was funny is she was in her chair. So there was a guy with us and he was pushing her in her wheelchair. But because she was sitting down, it mapped her as like a little kid.
Oh.
So she was like 3 feet tall and because it had her standing and like moving, she was like borderline doing T-pose the whole way. But it was so fun. And we were shooting and stuff and we were in the elevator. We were in an elevator and there was a K2 unit that walked in. And I'm just like, I'm just kind of standing there trying to act like I'm a stormtrooper. And the guy who was with us goes, "You can touch that." I was like, "Really?" I reached out and he was there. And I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And there was an R2 unit later and stuff like that and the same thing. And what was cool is as you go through it, the environment as it changes, you feel the changes. We got pinned down in a corner, in a corridor, in a corner. And we had to blast our way out. Well, we ended up breaking through a wall and we were out where the lava is. And as I stepped over the burned doorway, the part that was still molten when I stepped it was gooey under my shoe.
Oh.
Yeah, it like full immersion.
When did you go do this?
It was, you can do it. Unfortunately, it is gone now.
Oh, okay.
But when we went, it was just like you just had to pick a time and you paid for it. It was like $60. And it's only like about 15, 20 minutes. And they had like a bunch all over. Like the reason I wanted to do it is I saw it in Utah and there was this guy, he was doing like a castle thing and there were like spider webs. And what they were these little fiber cables, but you still had to brush them out of your way and stuff like that. And like they touted full immersive tactile 3D. They're like, if you have a panel that you have to hit, it's there. It's not you like, here it's, it's not the Tony Stark thing. It's very much right there. So I had been wanting to do it forever. And I had forgotten that they had one in Orlando. So when we went and everything, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta do this. I gotta say do it. So
how long ago was it?
That was 2019. No, wouldn't have been 2019.
Just pre-pandemic?
Yeah, it was pre-pandemic, and they actually, unfortunately, the company went bankrupt. Which sucks. I think it was one of those they expanded too big because it's a cool thing, but if people don't know what you're doing, they're not going to come visit it. So
I didn't know it was a
thing.
Yeah.
So, see, like that's the thing is like
I've been something I like to do.
Yeah. I was telling coworkers about it. I told my buddy Dale, who I worked with at the same place you did. And he's like, "What is this?" And I showed him and he's like, "Dude, we got to do this." And I was like, "I know, right?" He goes, "If you do it though, let me know." And I was like, yeah. And we went, I had some vacation time and we went and it was so cool. I'm really bummed it's gone now because it's one of those things like, even if they had just kept it in, like keep it in like the Disney Universal thing.
Yeah.
That would have been cool because you're always going to get people who are interested.
Yeah.
Versus, putting them everywhere.
But Disney has this thing now where, it is like a VR room, right? And then you're walking in this path, but you're not moving forward. You're walking on this.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
And they move all around, and it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I wonder if that's where
they probably got. Yeah, they probably were like, well, since you're going under, we're gonna buy some stuff from you.
Right.
But yeah, it was.
I wouldn't be surprised.
No. But it was really neat. It was something I'm really glad we got to do because I always hear about these things and I never get to go to them. And then they're like, "Oh, it's closed." This was one that my wife and I got to do, and I think she enjoyed it. And it was cool. I don't feel bad spoiling it now because it's nobody else can go to it. But as you're going through the base,
got to do it.
As you're going through the base and stuff, and like all these things happen, and like I had to hit a button code in specific order. Vader shows up at the end, and I've only been intimidated by Vader as a character 2 times in my entire life. One, when he kills everybody in Rogue One at the end, the hallway scene. And 2, coming face to face with him in a video game where he's like right here because he comes in and you're trying to shoot him away and he's blocking all your shots. Well, he gets you and he breaks your gun and then he goes to kill you and then somebody comes in with like a ship and knocks him out, like knocks him away so you can escape. But
did they have a character, like a person?
I have no idea. I didn't try to touch him because he was trying to kill me. Cool. But that would have been pretty sweet. Yeah, but it was so cool. I was really bummed when they said that they weren't doing it anymore because I wanted to take some friends to it. I was like, this is going to be cool. You guys are going to love this. And just never really got a chance to do that. But That was
I
cool.
gotta ask the Nerd Archive to see if they did it because they are all in Florida.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
Definitely ask them.
that would have been cool.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like you think about all these like the bigger franchises, Star Wars, Harry Potter, I mean, I would argue Lord of the Rings, you know, things like that are like these big names, and then you get like Ghostbusters is kind of that little engine that could kind of situation, because like the movies always do well, but they're never like, you never hear $1 billion box office for a Ghostbuster movie. Now, because of the weekend that they just had, the franchise as a whole has finally crossed $1 billion. So that's cool. You know, I mean, and that's neat. And I love the games. I mean, some of the older Sega and Nintendo games are a little rough in my mind. But when they did the movie video game, which was up until they released Afterlife, was the third movie. And then the Spirits Unleashed, where you're playing a Ghostbuster after the events of Afterlife. It's just a lot of fun.
A game like a Ghostbusters game that would be great would be like an open world kind
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like you're driving around and doing your own
like
thing.
missions and stuff.
I'd do that all day. I'd play that. That'd be my next The Division. That's one that I got really into. The only game I've probably logged more hours into besides The Division is Cyberpunk. No. It's close. It's getting there. Cyberpunk 2077 is getting there.
Never.
Haven't played that one?
No.
Well, you have 2 young kids. It's
I just play other games.
Yeah.
That doesn't require a lot of time.
Well, that one, I got suckered into that hype train of just like, I gotta play this game.
Right.
And then probably Hades, that first one, because they're doing number 2. And talk about a game that for the first, like, so often I was starting to get discouraged, because my roommate at the time, when I saw him play, he was doing so much better than me. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like, I'm not stupid. I know how to play these games. He told me years later after the fact, because like I finally told him how I was getting frustrated because you were doing really good and I was sucking, and you're just like, oh yeah, I did this, and this, and I was getting mad. He said, oh dude, he goes, I should have had you watch me. He goes, for like the first like 40 to 50 runs, he goes, I was getting annihilated too. I was like, oh, thank goodness it wasn't just me. So I don't feel so bad now.
Yeah, it's all right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just like, you know, for me, aside from wrestling, video games is a big thing for me. I don't always get the chance to play everything. I want to play the new WWE a lot.
Yeah, I do want to.
I've heard
buy that one.
Really good things. A couple of my friends have it. They like it a lot. I've always. This is not a knock at the AEW game, because the AEW game Fight Forever is fun. It's a good arcade experience. It reminds you of the old No Mercies and stuff like that. But the creation suite just isn't there. And I get it. You had to do something, and you had to make cuts in certain places. And maybe if this game does well, they'll do another one with the more creation suite and everything like that. The thing that I've liked about them versus WWE's games, and this is not a knock at those, but it's just true. WWE releases one every year. Well, aside from after the disaster.
It's the 2K.
Yeah.
EA.
It's the 2K EA model. Whereas as they've gone further into Fight Forever, they've done seasons where they just release more wrestlers. They update the roster.
Oh, nice.
To me, if every football game did that, I'd buy one every 3 years and just like, well, you know, I got to get the new improvements plus, you know, get the roster. And they just do roster updates. I'd play it all the time.
I feel like they will make more money doing that.
Yeah.
Because if they follow that Fortnite model.
Yeah.
Fortnite is just the one game.
Yeah, exactly.
And they've made so much money.
Oh, gosh. Them, Grand Theft Auto Online, I mean, pulls in what? $1 million a day or some ridiculous number. Yeah. And I'm just like, and I played that for a while myself. I didn't buy shark cards or anything because, you know, spending real money in a fake world, I get in trouble with that.
Yeah. That's have the kids playing Fortnite and then they wanted to buy all the skins.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to have this whole like bundle thing. I was like, oh, God. And you buy one and you can't just not buy the other.
Yeah, you got that. But, like, well, I don't look cool if I don't have that one. So now I got to buy that one. Like, I got suckered into, I don't know if you ever heard of it, called Brawlhalla. It's this little it's this little one-on-one.
Sounds like Valhalla, like the
Yeah. But it's up to 4 people at once, and you're just different avatars fighting each other. And they're like all these different characters. Some use guns, some use weapons like swords and knives and guns and, you know, axes and stuff. And they start doing like cross promotion. Like they did one with Assassin's Creed where you could play Ezio was one. Eivor from the Viking one, Valhalla, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you can play as her or the male version of that character. And you know, I'm just like, like I can play as Ninja Turtles. Oh, and then like, you know, stuff like that. And
that's what got me back into freaking Fortnite.
Yeah, oh yeah. Like I watched you play it earlier, and I'm like, oh, don't do this to me. Like
just showing you I have Leonardo. The kids have all the Ninja Turtles.
Nice.
So it's been fun. But one game I'm waiting on though, it's Grand Theft Auto 6.
Okay.
I play that game, Grand Theft Auto 5. I played it on what came out in PS3 and PS4.
PS3 and PS3. It was on original. Wait, 5 was on.
It was the last bit of it.
Yeah,
of the PS3.
Yeah, and then you could jump to the 4. Like they had the bundle with the 4. Yep, I remember that because I sold those and people were angry. we had a guy who I used to work at GameStop. This was before all the like, you know, insider trading nonsense. Well, not insider trading, but the big squeeze and stuff like that. And we had a guy come in with his buddy, and they were coming to pay off their pre-order for the game. And I think they were trying to say that they had the PlayStation bundle. They didn't. And we're like, we have no record of this. And they're like, well, I paid, you know, I paid, you know, why would I put, you know, $50 on a $500 pre-order if I wasn't going to pick it up? It's like, and we're like, a lot of people do that, man. Like, that's why we tell you, if you don't pick it up within 48 hours, we'll call you. And unless you make arrangements, we're not holding it for you. I have my own opinions about that. But anyway, and they came in and we told them, like, did you have it at another store? You know, because we can't see if a different store has your reservation. And he's like, no. And he goes, it was here. I had a gift card. And, you know, why wouldn't I pay for it in full if I had a gift card? And we're like, people do that all the time too. Like, we don't tell them what to do. And they got mad and they like knocked over one of our displays, like knocked some stuff off it. And my assistant manager went to go talk to them, and I had to grab him by his belt, and our manager was like, don't do it, man. And I was just like, come on, like, don't get fired. I don't need this crap. But yeah, I remember that because I got into it too. I mean, I had the Xbox One, and my buddy, a buddy of mine, and then a guy I was living with, he had it, and he was like big on getting everybody together to play it. So yeah, I got sucked into that for a long time. I only did the online stuff though. I did not play the game.
That I was the opposite. I never did the online stuff because at the time I don't think my internet was reliable when I lived in Florida. And when I was in Puerto Rico before moving to Florida, I still didn't play that. I played Call of Duty online.
Right.
The only game I played online. Then, but when it was time for the PlayStation 4, that's when I tried it. Because I played the game, the whole thing in PS3, and then the whole thing on PS4.
Nice.
And at that time is when I tried it online, but I was like, I don't really get what I'm supposed to do, so I tried it maybe twice, and never got back online.
I will say with the online stuff, for me, it helped to have friends. Like when I'm playing it by myself, I just get bored and I get grifted, get griefed by everybody.
Gotcha.
And I'm just like, this isn't fun without friends. Like there was one time, I think I still had the video. I have to look for it. We were playing with a buddy of mine and another friend, and we had just completed a mission, and the only thing we had to do was get in this helicopter and fly away. Well, I had gotten downed, I think, or I was in the helicopter. I was waiting, and he went to run up, and he completely forgot about the rear blade and ran right to the rear blade and wasted himself. So we were dying laughing. Like for 5 minutes, we weren't moving because we were cracking up so hard. It's like he did not just kill himself accidentally. So nah, that was fun. The last Grand Theft Auto game I played all the way through was probably 3. I did not like Vice City only because you had all these cool cars. You had you had the bikes finally. You had the motocross bikes. And there was turns everywhere. I'm like, this is not fun. Like I just, I didn't really care for that. Plus, I didn't like that it was basically retelling a Scarface. I was like, if I want to watch Scarface, I'll watch Scarface. And then I played San Andreas for a while. I got really into that. That was a ton of fun. Loved that. But it just got to be, there was just too much, and I had too much other stuff to do.
Yeah, like you had to go to the gym, make them eat.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Got to do all this stuff. And I enjoyed it, though. I had a lot of fun with it. And then when 4 came out, Saints Row 2 was out at the same time. And I love the first Saints Row. So Saints Row 2, I was like, I'm going to go with Saints Row 2. And I invested so many hours in Saints Row 2. Actually, I still have it to this day. All right. So the way I look at it, the best way I can describe Saints Row 1, 2, and 3, and a little bit of 4, is they're Grand Theft Auto in mindset of you're trying to amass wealth and power. Everything else is completely different because it's silly. The cars are fun to drive. A lot of it is just ridiculous.
It doesn't try to be too real.
Right, yeah. And then like with 1, it was kind of like this. I remember an old gaming magazine touted it as the potential Grand Theft Auto killer. So I was like, okay, what's this? And my buddy and I picked it up and we both got really into it. And then 2, it was more the same, but it was a little bit more over the top. You had the 3 gangs you were fighting against, but you could kind of tackle those in any order. There was no like real storyline wise to where it didn't make sense if you completed a mission before a different one. And you met a lot of like your lieutenants and stuff who were pretty cool. 3 was where it started to get a little silly. They have a bat that's shaped like a giant phallic object. And then they actually had a fart in the jar grenade. So that was fun. And then 4 was basically the Matrix, where you're the president of the United States. Now, the first mission in 4, you are literally a stealth Metal Gear Solid style mission. And you're killing these guards. And one of them, like, as you stab him, he goes, "Oh, I was only 1 day away from retirement." And, all those tropes. And then you're the president. Well, this alien Zinyak invades Earth and kidnaps everybody and puts you in this simulation to make you happy. Well, you end up hacking the simulation and you get superpowers. So like you're running at like supersonic speed. You can jump and glide forever. And like the thing with that was, so like in all the other ones, you got points if you collected different cars and things like that. This one, once your super speed's up, you don't need to collect cars. You're faster than any car anyway. Driving a car was boring. So like they went so far. It was so fun, but it just was it was too much. And unfortunately with THQ now being not what it was and being THQ Nordic, and it's basically Nordic Studios, they just keep the THQ name for brand recognition at this point. It sucked because they did a few other things, and then that new Saints Row that came out was nothing compared to the other ones, from what I understand. I did not play it. I remember being super hyped because I love Saints Row, and then I was like, I'll wait till the reviews come out, because some of the early trailers and gameplay stuff, I'm like, I don't know. And then like they just said it's not. They're like, we don't know who this is for, but this is not Saints Row's fans. So I was like, oh well, there we go. I'm a Saints Row fan. I don't need that. So kind of stayed away from that. But yeah, Grand Theft Auto. I loved 3. 3 was the first game that I realized I could memorize cheat codes again and stuff like that. My brother had it on his PS2, so I used to go over there and just sit for hours and just like, oh, this is so cool.
I remember the page that I used to get the cheat codes from was Game Revolution.
Yep. I remember
going to that page every single time and pulling everything. I tried to go the page, the website's still up.
Oh, is it?
It's just different.
Oh, gotcha.
There's like news and all that stuff.
Nice.
Gaming stuff.
I didn't know they were still around. That's cool.
Yeah, but it's not. It doesn't.
It's not the same. Yeah.
So you to have that big list of games.
Yep.
Console, the game, all in alphabetical order. That was pretty cool. I remember printing all this pages.
Yeah,
I still found some pages when I went to Puerto Rico.
I think I have
stuff.
Yeah, I think up until like not this move before, the move before that, I still had old cheats and stuff. Yeah, and I was like, oh, I don't need these anymore, and I tossed them. But
I still remember the ones for Grand Theft Auto. It's like
Yeah, it's like
L1,
L1, R1,
Yep.
up, down, and stuff like that. And yeah, I remember that. That
going
was
like this.
Yep. That was so fun. Oh gosh, nostalgia.
I didn't like it
man.
when they put the phone and the cheat codes were in there.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It wasn't as fun.
No, because like you had to go in. It was a chore at that point. It's like, oh, this is kind of lame. My problem with 4 is I just didn't really care for the protagonist. And nothing against the character or the actor or anything like that. I liked 3 because I felt like I could kind of see myself in the mute the mute character.
That 3 was Liberty City.
Yeah, yep.
And then they did the PSP one.
Oh yeah, that was China Wars or something like that, because it was in Liberty City, but it was like Chinatown Wars or something like that.
Right,
I remember that,
like a side game of the big one.
Yep.
And then the Vice City, right, and then 4 or 5.
Yep. Well, Vice City, San Andreas, and then 4, which was back in Liberty City, I think, wasn't it?
I don't remember 4.
I can't remember.
There's a big gap in the memory there.
Yeah, and then 5 is where it is. And I thought 5, for as much as I didn't really care about the game proper, the character Trevor bothered me too much. Stephen Ogg, great actor, crazy dude, does a phenomenal job.
Like, I don't sound like this.
But like the guy, but the guy that he is in that game, I'm just like, why does anybody put up with this dude? Like, why is Michael or Franklin not just shot him like it just by now? Like, it just, come on. So yeah,
That's
it
a
just
crazy dude.
It just like he's just so nuts. But yeah, those games, I respect them. I just don't play them anymore. I'm one of those people that I used to respect a lot more of what Rockstar did. And it's not that they don't build these phenomenal games and everything like that. I'm not as interested anymore. It's not a dig at them or anything. It's just not for me. I like the single player experience as much as anybody, but now I find that I'm kind of more catered towards these like kind of niche weird ones. Did you ever play Control? Well, let me ask you, let me rephrase that. Did you ever play Alan Wake?
No.
Okay. So it's the same studio. It's Remedy Studios. And they made Alan Wake, which is a very interesting, weird, messed up game. The first one. Yeah, it's just
the game of the year.
That was Alan Wake 2.
Okay.
Yeah, because they remastered Alan Wake 1, and I actually need to download that. I don't have that yet. Well, they did a few other games. They did Quantum Break, which was innovative in the sense that it tried to have those cinematic, like it had full-on TV episodes after like each chapter. So that was kind of cool, but at the same time I was like, I don't really want to watch a TV show. I want to play a video game. So I kind of fell out of that one, but then they came out with one called Control where you play Jesse Faden, and she's going to this place called the Federal Bureau of Control because she gets a letter that her brother is there and he's been missing for years. So she goes there and it immediately goes into lockdown because these things called the Hiss are out, and they're like these like almost zombie demonic looking things that glow red that are trying to overtake the Bureau and kind of come into our world more. And they send it into lockdown to keep them from escaping, and craziness happens. And it's so innovative. It's so different. It's so cool. And like she has this gun. I can't think of the proper name for it. It's been a minute, where different things and upgrades for it changes the loadout of the gun itself. You don't ever have to change your weapon. It just changes.
Gotcha.
And like you get like kind of a grenade launcher type, and you get like a shotgun type, and you get this like just different versions of this pistol. And it doesn't ever run out of ammo. You just need to let it reload, and that's like a time reload. And to me, that's more fun than having to find ammo everywhere. And she gets these powers and stuff to where like she can like lift rocks and throw them at enemies. And like there was one I did. I was coming up this stair, and one attacked me from behind. Well, I turned around and I grabbed, and I meant to grab him, but I missed, and I grabbed something behind him. Well, when I grabbed it, it hit him as it came forward, and then I threw it back at him, and it hit him again. So it was just like this double hit, and I was just like, this is so cool, and just like such a good game. But that one, I think the ultimate version, which this was 505, who they now actually Remedy got the license back completely for Control, and they're talking about they're going to do another one. I'm like, yes. They released the Ultimate Edition, which had the 2 DLCs, and then it had like upscale for like ray tracing and stuff like that. Well, Remedy wanted to allow you to upgrade. 505 didn't want you to upgrade; they wanted you to pay for it, and it's just this whole thing. But the Ultimate Edition on Xbox Game Pass right now is like $10 if you want to buy it, or you can just play it on Game Pass. And I mean, I think you've got PlayStation, so. But I mean, it's just one of those
Xbox Pass and the PC. But I, like you mentioned, I have a PlayStation. Grew up playing most of the games that came out there, but mainly was wrestling, Grand Theft Auto, and Call of Duty.
Yeah, there you go.
Those were my go-to games. Prince of Persia.
That's that was a good one for
sure. Until I got stuck in one place, and then I was like, "That's it."
Man.
Then I played like the first Assassin's Creed when that came out. I don't think I finished the game, and there was too many games that came out after that.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a lot of time at that time. But.
I hear you. Yeah, with me, it's funny. I went from my brothers had the original Nintendo, they got the Super. We had the Sega, and I was always getting
skip that part.
Yeah, I was always getting hand me down systems. Not that I cared, but my brothers had the NES, and then they got the Sega, and then my oldest brother got the Super NES, so I had the NES in my room and everything like that. Mine and my other brother's room, and then the first system I got that was mine was the Nintendo 64. My brothers had the PlayStation. I wanted the 64 because I wanted to play Mario and other stuff like that. It just looked so cool. Yeah. And then when I never had a Dreamcast, and then when the PlayStation 2 came out, I ended up getting that towards the end of its I can't even say towards the end of its life cycle, because I think it was still getting games for like 2012. So I had that, and then my mom got me the 360 Elite right before the new models came out, like the edges and stuff. But I love my Elite. I still have it. And then I got the Xbox One, and eventually I got a PS3 eventually, but I only got it for what was that one called? Beyond Two Souls. They're Elliot Page now, but when they were Ellen Page, they were the lead in that. You ever play? You probably not. David Cage for Quantic Dream, I think, is the studio. They're cinematic video games, and like you play as like a player in a movie kind of thing. It's not quite how it is, but like they did like Heavy Rain. Indigo Prophecy was a big one for PS2. PS2 also was PlayStation is the only system I play Metal Gear games on.
Okay.
Because I got really into my brother played Metal Gear Solid, and I didn't understand how to play it, so I just watched him. Well, Metal Gear Solid 2 came out, and I played that all the time. I probably played that the most. Then Snake Eater came out, and then my buddy Rob got he got Metal Gear Solid 4. I didn't have a PS3 at the time, so we played that together. I helped him beat some bosses and stuff, and we played that together. And then 5 came out. I didn't actually end up beating 5 because I just started to not care. And after they fired Hideo Kojima, I was just like, oh, okay, I guess I don't care anymore. But like that's one of those games, like if I have a PlayStation, I have to play it on PlayStation. I can't play it on, it's not that the Xbox doesn't work, it's just I prefer it on PlayStation. And then like for me, like I got my wife a PS5, and for us, like I only get exclusives on the PS5. Like the Spider-Man games, love them. The
last one was amazing.
Yeah, I still have yet to play that. Actually,
you have.
Yeah,
oh
it's sitting in its plastic. Well, we moved, and I just haven't set up the 5 yet because we're still waiting on so my in-laws are painting our TV stand that we're doing, because like we're repurposing an old dresser into a TV stand.
Gotcha.
So and he's working on other things, so we're not in any rush or anything, but once he gets that set up, I'll set up the PS5, because she has to play, because my wife has to play the other ones, because she's like, I want to play, and I was like, play, because I got her into The Wolf Among Us, that Telltale game. Excuse me. And it looked awesome. I was super hyped for it.
Yes.
And I just have not had the time. So. Yeah.
The coolest thing to me is just because of Miles being half Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
They have the Boricua suit.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what Boricua is, it's what people from Puerto Rico are called. We're Puerto Rican, but Boricua, it's our nickname because of the Indians and natives from the island. But yeah, when I was able to unlock it,
Oh yeah.
it was the last thing I did.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I could have done this way early in the game. But, it was so cool when I got to get it.
Yeah, like for me, like just the fact that being half Hispanic myself and having a character who's half Hispanic, half black, just having a mixed race character, period, is such a cool thing. And I love the Miles Morales character myself. He was actually the reason I was really excited for number 2. I was like, oh shoot, I could play as both, because I played his Miles Morales game, and I think I actually played that faster than I did Spider-Man, because like I mean, granted, it is kind of a shorter game, but
you understand it already.
Yeah, and like I had so much fun. I love his Venom strike. I love his powers more than the traditional Spider-Man. Nothing against Peter Parker's character, but Miles is just so cool. So
yeah, this new game, the cool thing about it is like you don't have to pick like which one I'm gonna play more, one or the other. You actually get the same amount of playtime for both, and then you can decide after.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, yeah, that's better. I like that. Yeah,
the main thing is like the powers. Which power you want to use and whatnot. Obviously the black suit. For like the Venom suit for each is different.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah,
you're gonna love it.
That's what I'm excited for. It's funny. I have 3 games out right now that I kind of switch out as far as physical goes, and it's Cyberpunk 2077, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, because I didn't realize they had updated a bunch of stuff and did a bunch of like add-ons. So I just recently re-downloaded those, and I was like, oh okay. And then Ghostbusters to swap out, and then I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3, but Spider-Man's sitting in that pile because I know as soon as I get a chance, that sucker's going in the plane. So yeah.
Did you play oh my god, I had the game in my head. Where was it? I'll remember.
Okay.
What it is. Oh my god, I have it there, and it's that. It's a recent game. You mentioned Baldur's Gate, and then I forgot. Anyways, I'll remember.
I'm trying to think of what's recently come out that maybe you're thinking of, but nothing comes to mind. Baldur's Gate is one that the hype around it, I was like, okay, what's so cool about this? And like, it's D&D, but you're playing a video game. I'm like, okay. And I didn't realize there were 2 other Baldur's Gates. So like my buddy's like, oh, I played 1 and 2 and I loved them. I'm like, oh, I didn't know there was a 1 and 2. So never mind that this is number 3.
Same with like Helldivers. I didn't know there was a 1.
That was, that one I played on, I had a Vita and I played it on there. And it was cool, but I struggle with handhelds. It's not that I don't think I have a Switch, but that's not a proper handheld either. That's more of a between the two. I really struggled with handhelds, but that one kind of kept my attention because it was cool. It was different. And I like that it's very much in the line of Starship Troopers, where it's that satire of like fascist, like dictators and like that regime. And I like that it's that kind of like people who take it too seriously, like this is how it should be. It's like they're making fun of you. Like you understand that. So
this new one is so fun.
Yeah, I get to play it looks awesome. I want to play it.
I played it with Justin.
Oh, okay.
No, archive. And the first time we played together, so we started playing around 10 p.m. And then we play a couple games, and one night it was already like 2 a.m. and I was like, oh my god. We played for a while, but we've been having some fun with it. And the fun thing too, for some people, is the friendly fire.
Oh, okay.
Because they're not gonna turn that off.
Yeah, I read about that. Yeah, they said like they're not turning it off because it's funny.
Yeah. So like you get hit quite a bit, and there's some dickheads out there that they do like to hit, like when you're playing with randoms. I had one guy that just kept meleeing me and then giving me a stim so I could get health back. I was like, what's the point?
Yeah, what are you doing?
What's the point? But I guess some people have fun doing that.
Yeah, like that was the thing. Like, I got really into the Division, and with that one, I never did the Dark Zone stuff because that's like kind of the PvP arena. I don't like people who play just to grieve you. Like I don't like getting my stuff and then someone kills me 2 seconds later. It's like, really? So I didn't really do much. I'm very much if I can do a story, if I can do it by myself, I'll play it. If I have to depend on the kindness of strangers, I better have a lot of friends playing it because I won't play it otherwise. But like the Ghostbusters game was cool because like even if you're teamed up with people, they all have the same objective. You're not really running into too many people who are just like screwing up to mess up.
So there is a newer Ghostbusters.
It's called Spirits Unleashed, and you play as the rookie of a new franchise in New York. You meet different characters who they don't show up in the movies, but you do meet Winston and Ray Stantz, aka Dan Aykroyd and Ernie Hudson, and you're trying to stop the ghost world from merging with the human world. And you do different missions where you go out and you just try to catch ghosts. And like the premise is there's rifts between our world and the ghost world. You have to close those down. You have to capture the ghosts, in between those. And like, as long as you complete the objectives, you win. If the ghost, who is also controlled by a different player, can scare people, haunt objects, slime people, things of that, so that the more haunted the location gets, the harder it is for you to complete the job before time runs out.
Gotcha.
And it's a lot of fun. And like playing as the ghost, I thought would suck. It's actually it's fun and it's hard to fight against sometimes because it's 1-on-4 and you think, we got this. They'll mess you up. Like I was doing one and I was doing something and like he came out from behind me and it's like slimed me and slowed me down and stuff. And I was so mad, but it was fun though. And it's a cool game and it's crossplay too.
Okay.
So like you don't have to, like, as long as you have, like, I think it's like an Epic Games account.
That's the beauty about all the games now.
Yeah.
Most of them are.
Yeah. You can play together.
Yeah. There's no, I think the console war is coming to an end. Hopefully.
Yeah. It's one of those things like,
it's stupid.
Yeah, it's one of those things like I understood it back in the day because they were really competing for dominance. Like, we're going to shut these guys out. Like, I remember when PS2 was out and it was just running away with it on, that. And then Sony came out with the price point for the PS3 and everybody's just like, I'm not paying that much. Like, that's
Xbox.
Yeah, they jumped to Xbox, which was way cheaper. And then the PS3, the PS4 and the Xbox One came out and, the Xbox One did the whole Connect bundle thing, and then there was rumors of Always Online and the DRM stuff, and Sony was like, they did that little cheeky ad or like, this is how you share games, and then they like handed it over and like that's all you had to do. So there was definitely missteps, and I'll never forget with the CEO of the time. He wasn't the CEO, he was like the head of marketing or something at Microsoft, who was like, we already have a system for people who don't want to play online. It's called the Xbox 360. And it's just like, dude, what are you doing? You're telling people not to buy your system now? Like, what's wrong with you? They fired that guy. But I remember I was working at GameStop during that launch, and that was intense because it was cool. It's like for PlayStation Week, we wore blue shirts with like the PlayStation 4 logo and got to meet people. We actually had a special presentation from Sony. We got to go to this thing and they showed us the games. They showed us what it was going to look like. And with the Xbox was the same thing. We got to see the games before everybody and we got to do all this stuff. And it was really cool to like just have this knowledge. And then when they launched, I was being really excited for it. And then when the Switch one was cool, just because I had never really been a part of like a big Nintendo launch. Like I had been there when the Wii U came out and didn't really do that well. But
I really liked the Wii U.
I didn't hate it. I thought it was cool.
At least for the games that we played.
Yeah.
It was just me and my wife playing. So like I had the bigger controller and then we play Mario.
Right, yeah, and you're dropping
we finish this together.
Yeah.
Like, we drop in the boxes and
Yeah.
it was a fun game to do it together.
Yeah, I originally got that it was supposed to be for she was my girlfriend at the time, she's my wife now. But like I ended up needing money and that was the only thing that I really had that was any value. So I sold it. Kind of regret it now. But at the same time I have the Switch now.
I sold the Wii U.
Yeah.
We were in Florida and like, we're not really using it that much. And I do regret it because now,
Yeah, you can't get it anymore.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and like the thing I like with the Wii, like that's kind of been the bread and butter for me and my wife is like we play.
You still use it?
not the Wii so much anymore because, well, it's actually at her parents' place. So like her parents got it. I kept getting her games for it. Like I ended up downloading one of the old Kirby games for her because she loves Kirby. I've downloaded Donkey Kong for her dad because, you know, I love the old Donkey Kong. Why wouldn't he, you know, and everything like that. And he had a lot of fun with it. Well, then, we played Wii Sports as like her parents, who I never really took as like people who would play games anymore. We were all playing Wii Sports. We're bowling, we're doing the sword fighting, we're doing the archery and stuff like that. And we're just having fun as a family. So that was really cool. And then now that we've moved, now that we live together, and her parents are like, well, do you want the Wii? And she's like, well, yeah. She goes, because I got her that Mario collection that was like a limited edition Mario collection. And so I got her that and stuff. And so it's very much we got to have that, you know. And but
switch right there.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. We my buddy George, who has not been forgiven for this, you will never be forgiven for this. I'm still mad at you about this. He got me the Switch for Christmas. The reason, ladies and gentlemen, why I'm angry is at the time I wasn't making a lot of money. He had gotten a bonus and he's like, I had extra cash, so I got myself a Switch and I got you one for Christmas. I got him a headset for Christmas. And like the disparagement, and
he loves you, man.
It was very much, he did not do it to make me feel bad. I do know that. I was so mad. I'm like, why would you do that? And like, I was so blown away because I had no idea.
That's an awesome friend.
Yeah, he was.
I wouldn't buy that to my best friend.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He truly is. He's one of my best friends. He actually is. He was actually the officiant at our wedding.
Nice.
Yeah, it's funny. We kind of met randomly through GameStop. He was a regular, and once he kind of got to know the other guys who worked there, he started coming in more, and then I got to know him, and he invited me out for a board gaming session one time, and we met through that, and kind of hit it off as friends. Like we just seemed cool. He was kind of getting into wrestling again, and that's kind of what really got us started. Well, my roommates at the time were terrible people, and I'm saying this now having reconciled with one of them, and the other one can shove off and never talk to me again. I asked him, I said, what's your living situation? He says, oh, I live out here and I got two buddies that live with us. I said, is your lease up? He goes, oh, we're month to month. I said, would you be willing to kind of move in with me? Like I needed a roommate, you know, and like, he's like, yeah, you know, no problem. We lived together like 9 years.
That's awesome.
So it's just like, you know, and it was such a great time. We had so many cool adventures and so stuff. Like we go to Comic-Con still together, like which originally started as like a gift from my wife as a surprise for me. And then it's kind of turned into this tradition where the three of us go, or if other people come with us, you know, that's cool too.
He's in town.
Yeah, he actually lives. He stayed in the area. He lives south of me now.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I keep burping.
I only asked just because since you guys are really good friends, you know, Georgie or George? George, you're welcome to join us.
Hey, there you go, man. We'll have to bring you on sometime.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. He can talk nerd stuff like nobody's business. So it'll be a good time. But yeah, he just a really good friend. I mean, obviously enough to where it was funny because we were getting ready for the wedding, and he was just. I think he was expecting to be made a groomsman. And originally that was my thought, but I have two older brothers who were going to be in it. And then two other very close friends who I kind of already knew were going to be there long before I had even met him. And I was talking to my wife, and she goes, what if we asked him to be our officiant? Do you think he'd do it? I was like, I think he'd kill it. And so we asked him, and he was super hyped to do it. And
that's the most important part.
Yeah.
Besides you guys getting.
Yeah. He was so fun. He was so fun. Like I remember my wife when she was going through like the last couple of months of like, just, you start second guessing color choices and flowers and all this stuff. And she goes, oh man, you know, do you think he really wants to do it? I was like, I think he's going to crush it. And he did. and I think I actually told him later, I said, thank you for doing what I thought you were going to do, which was amazing. So, but yeah, it's cool. And like, I know it meant a lot to him too. So, that's you know, awesome. It's just really neat. And yeah, he's a big wrestling nerd. He's the guy I've been to AEW with twice. We've been to a Monday Night Raw together.
Which Monday Night Raw is happening right now,
Yeah.
right?
I think so.
I think Ryan sent a message. He woke up.
Oh, did he?
So Ryan, we recorded this. You were taking a nap, but that's okay. We'll forgive you. Says CM Punk is cooking up a storm.
Oh yeah, I heard
tonight.
he was supposed to come back tonight. I forgot. Oh shoot. Oh, I have it recording though. I'll be all right. All right. I'll watch that tomorrow.
Don't they play it on Peacock?
It's on Peacock right now. You can get it on. I think you can still get it on Hulu as well. I have YouTube TV, thankfully.
And they play it through there.
Yeah, you can watch it. And what's cool with YouTube TV is you can get unlimited DVR. So
Okay.
like my wife and I, we don't really want cable because it's stupid expensive. And same buddy George actually hooked us up with part of the family plan for YouTube TV. So I was like, well, it's like unlimited DVR. I mean, I'm getting kind of back into wrestling as far as WWE goes because I'm still in AEW, a lot. And we started watching it.
Too much to keep track of.
Oh yeah, it's so much content. It's so crazy. Yeah, it's like I got a life, I got a wife, I got a job, I got all this stuff.
Yeah.
But the fact that Punk was back tonight to talk, I imagine he probably said something to Drew McIntyre because Drew McIntyre has been crushing it as like this like big heel. Like everything he does is like has a reason, and I'm loving it. I'm here for it. I don't agree with everything he says, but I'm here for it, and it's just it's so entertaining. Speaking of wrestling, so I've been watching Dark Side of the Ring season 5, and the first episode was shoot, wow, that's terrible.
They have this on YouTube, right?
I've been watching them on YouTube. They're on YouTube. They're like there are other channels that are doing it. I'm not trying to get those. Don't listen to that, Google. But the first episode was about John Tenta, aka Earthquake, from like back in the 80s. And it's so interesting to have a show called Dark Side of the Ring and have an episode that is really kind of just lighthearted, except for the fact that he passed away. Because he was such a nice guy, such a good guy. He was a great family man. He loved his kids. He loved his wife. All this stuff. Like he met his wife. I think she was from the Philippines, and when he met her, she had already had a son with like her previous husband, and she said the only thing is I'm a package deal. Like he comes with me, and he goes, okay, he's like absolutely, and his stepson doesn't even call himself his stepson. He goes, yeah, he was technically my stepdad. He goes, but he was my dad. He taught me how to be a man and stuff. And so they interview his 2 sons and his daughter, and just the love and adoration they have for him. It's so great to see because it's like all these Dark Side of the Ring episodes are just sad, depressing sometimes. And so that one was cool. Episode 2 was, what was it? I just saw it. Episode 2, I'll come back to that one. But episode 3 was about Terry Gordy, who was part of the Barry Gordy, not Terry Gordy, was part of the Fabulous Freebirds.
Okay.
And this was, that was before that was before me. I didn't know who the Freebirds were until years later. I didn't know who the Von Erichs were until years later. And this is a guy who the character he played in the Freebirds was the Muscle. But the guys like Mick Foley are like, if you watch his matches, he is so good at what he does. He said he'll make you look like $1 million, but you will pay for it because he's got that hard hitting snug style. His punches are theatrical, but they look like they hurt. And like just to watch, like they do a really great service to his wrestling versus just the entertainer part of it. And like it just sucks because he had accidentally overdosed because he said at first it was just kind of to get through, and then it started to turn into a problem. He started taking pills, and then he had an episode on a plane where Dr. Death Steve Williams was his tag partner, and he like basically compressed it. He was doing CPR on him, and he was slapping him to wake him back up. Unfortunately, that had caused some mental damage.
Oh,
to where
slaps or
well
like
the lack of
like, he hit it
no,
that
I mean
hard.
if he hit him that hurt, yeah,
Dang.
no, like the lack of oxygen and stuff, and he ended up it's sad to watch like his interviews later because you can tell he's not all there.
Like it changed.
Yeah, and it just sucks because like they tried to get him back because he had another episode where he had a long road, but it it wasn't as good. But one thing that they brought up was, so he was brought into WWE and he did the Executioner gimmick like in the early 90s. It was part of like this faction. It was Paul Bearer, Mankind, and the Executioner. Well, that was Gordy under the mask. And they said that the reason that they did that was to protect him, they could pay him, but he wasn't damaging his legacy as Gordy. It was, no, this is the Executioner. This isn't Gordy. And his daughter said, who's actually a wrestler, she said, I look at it now and I really appreciate it, that they tried to protect my dad. And unfortunately he was on the road and he was doing a show and he asked his son was actually Jesse from Jesse and Festus. I don't know if you remember that. It was, so Luke Owens, before he became Luke Owens, was Festus in WWE, who was this guy who, when the bell rang, he turned into like this monster and would like beat everybody up. And then the bell would ring and he'd go back to like this stupor. And it was so bad.
I think I've seen some of that.
Well, he had a partner named Jesse, and like it was like the theme song was like fried chicken and dumplings or something like it was horrible, horrible. Well, that was him. That was his son. And he had asked him to come to a show with him, and he said, for some reason I couldn't do it. He said, and I kind of wished I had, because he had a heart episode. He ended up and he passed away. Like his nephew was with him, and he tried to wake him back up, and he was already gone. And but it was cool because Mick Foley talks about he's doing a show and he was in the ring and they were taking Polaroids of people with him, and he said it was like maybe 4 people, and he goes, and it drove me, I felt so bad because he goes, I'm out signing autographs as Mankind, and I want to be like, this is a wrestling legend, like this is the guy you should be autograph seeking and stuff like that, because it's cool with wrestling because there's always somebody who remembers somebody who was so good,
Right.
This was a dude who's
it's
like,
not like it's not their time.
Yeah.
They have new people coming out and there's new fans.
He was like, he was kind of the innovator of the power bomb, actually. So like it was cool to learn, because like I try to fancy myself a wrestling historian, but I don't know everything. So it's cool to watch these episodes and to learn about these people who shaped the industry long before I even knew it was an industry. And it's really cool to see stuff like that. And like as sad as it was that he only lived to be about his 40s is kind of the really sad part, but like to see the lasting impact he had on the business itself. Like a lot of people modeled stuff that he did after him and stuff like that. It's cool, but so it's just like with wrestling, being, aside from gaming, a really big passion of mine, it's cool to see all walks of life. Like you talked about the Puerto Rican scene and everything like that. And then like the Mexican scene, Japanese, all that stuff, Lucha Underground alone, like please bring it back. But
this reminds me, I just watched an interview of Hugo Savinovich.
Okay.
So he was talking about how the WWE stole the championship, the World Wrestling Championship, because the first time that title was the prize, it was in Puerto Rico.
Oh,
it was Ric Flair versus Carlos Colon.
Yeah,
and then they took the title and also took because that's where WWC, which is his brand, Carlos Colon's brand. It's the World Wrestling Council. And then they brought that title. Ric Flair took it.
Yep.
They took it to WWE or WWF at the time. And then the Consejo Mundial de Lucha, so a branch or a company in Mexico took the name.
Oh, okay.
So we kept the WWC, but the Consejo Mundial de Lucha, somebody else took it.
Oh, wow.
But still, like, there's no big like fight or anything about it. It's just funny that he was talking about it in an interview like this week.
Well, like the thing with the Flair thing too is like when he lost the title, he wasn't supposed to.
Yeah.
He was supposed to go over, but he was so terrified that the fans were just going to riot if he won, because because who he was wrestling was so popular. And he's just like, when they found out he lost, they're like, what are you doing, Rick? And he's like, I'm not getting stabbed. He's like, I'm not, these, people are crazy, like, and
the
I mean,
fans in Puerto Rico were big fans. Like, Hugo, when he was wrestling before, he said that one of his like personas was this like, pretty boy thing, him being better than the rest of the people.
Right.
And one of the persons that he was making fun of ended up putting a gun on his head.
Oh, jeez.
Like, because he was like a general or
Oh,
something
okay,
like that.
yeah.
But it's still like the fans, yes, they were crazy back then.
Yeah, it's nuts to think like how much has changed, because I mean there's still people who get riled up. I mean it is what it is, but like
But now is different because they know it's part of a story.
yeah, it's a show. Yeah,
It's
I
a
mean
story,
yeah,
yeah.
like the kids, it's one thing because like you're gonna work kids regardless, because I mean I was that kid who, like, you know, when certain things happen I was sad or I was angry and, you know, stuff like that. But it's like to see how guys like uh wow, see how like Roddy Piper talked about how like he would come out and his tires would be slashed.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Paul Heyman talked about in like the ECW days, cars would get
Those
destroyed.
were
Yeah,
hardcore.
yeah. Talk
Those
about
hardcore
fans who are a special breed of like devoted is like the nicest way to say it. Like we talked about Mania being in Philly, and my only hope is that the Philly fans will show up. Like, I mean, I'm sure they will, but like the Philly fans showing up for the right reasons, you know, because you always get that crowd in certain, whether it's Manias or it's the night after Mania, who are just there to just do whatever they want for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I really hope like with Cody, he gets his moment, because I keep getting graphics of like, oh, he only needs this many days to beat Hulk Hogan's record. And I'm like, if they do not pull the trigger on this, and I know we've talked about this ad nauseum at this point, but I swear on all that is holy.
It's a road to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So
If Cody does not win this match, I will never. I'm done. I don't have a reason to watch WWE.
I think a lot of people feel
Yeah.
that way. With the interview I watched with Ugo, he said that he hopes that they do the right thing
Mhm.
versus stretching this out for money.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's all about money at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
I think they might give it to Cody.
I think the reason why, I think honestly, this is the truth for me. I think they're working everybody, because I feel like you put that stuff out there to put that doubt, because everybody was so sure Cody was going to win last year and they didn't. And I remember being so confused, and Triple H is at the press conference. He goes, well, you know, it's an ongoing story. And it's like, whatever, man.
Maybe they wanted to wait till 40.
Yeah. And I mean, with the Rock back, it adds a certain level. I mean, so it's like we talked about before, like there were people who, because the Rock's back, they want to watch it now. I'm not one of those people, but I also watch it.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
I feel like I want to watch it because of the story that it
right.
built.
Yeah,
Like
And
I love The Rock.
Yeah,
It's an add-on to everything else. But
it's cool. Like I just I hope with this tag match that they had before. First of all, I hope that goes on first, because like
yeah, that's the first night.
Yeah, like well, I hope it goes on like middle of the show or first of the show, because
they're doing main event.
I don't want Roman with two main events on the same freaking Mania. Like,
I think they might do this too because of obviously Roman's history with cancer and whatnot.
Yeah,
I think he might just take a longer break after this.
I think with Roman, it's never been an issue for me with the performer. Roman Reigns, Joe, you know, he goes by Joe or Liaki, is, you know, whatever name he's choosing to go with this time. I have no problem with him. Great performer, plays his role well, does what they ask him to do, has carried a title for way longer than I think anybody expected him to, and has made it believable. Now, granted, there's some problems with that story, but whatever. It's the company he works for's decision making that has always kind of irked me with him. It's not Roman Reigns as a competitor. It's not Roman Reigns as a person. The guy beat freaking leukemia twice. I mean, you know, awesome. Fantastic, dude. You know, do you. But it's this idea that, oh, well, fans will tune in anyway. Sure, for a while. And then we kind of get irritated. I watch the Rumble every year. Even if I'm mad, I watch the Rumble. And I'm just like, because it's the Rumble. But it's just like with this Mania, with, Rhea versus Becky, you've got Bailey versus Io Sky, you've got Drew versus Seth, you got,
it's a lot.
Yeah, you got Roman versus Cody too. You've got all this stuff, and I'm really excited for it. I'm really amped for it.
Versus Jimmy.
That'll be a good one for sure. I'm excited to see what they do, because those two are going to do something crazy. And like, this is not. I love Matt and Jeff Hardy. I do. But when they did their match at 25, I remember being so bored. I remember being so bummed. I was like, these guys are gonna kill it, and like I don't care anymore. And then they end it where Matt's like, okay, I quit, and then like he does the thing, and I'm like, this was like as toothless as it gets. To watch Jimmy and Jay, they're gonna annihilate each other. Like, this is for when I was 10. Well, this is for when I was 9. You know,
Right.
just like, they're just gonna.
Especially where kids that grew up hitting each other.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
like they
Yeah.
grew up in this wrestling world.
Yeah.
And being what, their second generation, third.
Third, because the
Yeah.
Wild Samoans,
Yep.
then Rikishi, then them. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, they're third. I mean, heck, the whole Samoan legacy, like Jacob Fatu and all those guys are just, crazy. Like Haku, aka Ming from WCW, was like this badass Samoan dude who just, terrified everybody because he was legitimately a tough guy. And like, that's the thing too, is like, these guys who like are just, they live and breathe it and they're ready for it. I think with me, in the end, like, you watch TV shows and you watch behind the scenes stuff, Cody Rhodes is so over with the fans. If they don't pull the trigger now, you've wasted your entire window, because this is a guy who people were asking him to be his best man at the shows. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. Stuff like that. This is a guy who, when they did All In, he sent a guy travel arrangements so he could go to All In. I mean, this guy is a man of the people. This is not like, he's kind of gotten that
people.
Yeah.
The people's champion.
Yeah, he is he's not the people's champ because he is the people's champ now.
Right,
like
right.
And like, that's my whole thing with Cody is like, I've been a fan of his ever since he broke away from WWE the first time, because I hated the Stardust gimmick. I loved his dashing Cody Rhodes gimmick because that was funny. The mustache and just, I'm handsome and these are grooming tips, and I'm just like, okay, but then when he broke away and he did his own thing and he changed the industry, and then he comes into WWE again. I'm excited. I mean, and it's like I've said before, the wealth of riches on every side of the coin. Japan, AEW, WWE, TNA, just like this spoil of just talent is amazing. Like AEW right now, with like, you had Edge and Christian do the I Quit match, which was insane.
I saw some highlights of
yeah, it's nuts. It's so good. And then you've got Daniel Bryan, you got Daniel Bryan and Okada in the same company, and they're gonna wrestle. I mean, that's awesome. You got Will Ospreay versus Daniel Bryan. I mean, come on. Excuse me, Bryan Danielson. Sorry. Don't put me in a move.
It's the same.
But with me, it's like there's always at least 5 wrestlers I gravitate to, and I love that on each show there's 5 different ones, because it's not 3 AEW and 2 WWE or whatever. It's very much like WWE right now. It's Cody, it's Punk. It'll always be Punk. It's just how I am. Those two. You've got, like, I like Drew McIntyre right now. He's sweet, but I love Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is great. And then you've got Finn Balor, and I'm loving Damian Priest and that whole thing there. And then as far as the women, like, I mean, you've got Rhea. Bailey has always been a favorite of mine. I like Becky Lynch a lot too, and everything like that. And then like, you've got Shayna Baszler and what's her name? My mind just went blank. But like, you've got these other wrestlers, but then in AEW you've got Will Ospreay, you got Penta, you got Rey Fenix, you got Pac, you got Darby Allin, you got the Acclaimed, then like their women's division with like Serena Deeb, and you got Timeless Tony Storm, who's, I'm sorry, is doing some of the best character work you've seen anywhere and stuff like that. It's really cool to see how much talent there is and how they're all on TV, and like, that's the cool thing too, is like, there's so many years where like, it's just like, oh, they're only online or they're only on this. It's like, no, everybody's on TV now. There's national exposure. It's good.
Did I tell you that I worked Kevin Owens' wedding?
No, you did not tell me that. How dare you not tell me that?
Yeah, so like, there was an event going at the time I was working at Disney, and I worked the events for weddings and stuff in the convention center for one of the hotels. And this event, it's coming pretty private, and they don't want employees actually to go in the wedding or anything, like, not to serve food, because that was what we did, is we prepare the food and we serve whatnot. And then I see the name, and I was like, they say he's a wrestler. He's a famous wrestler. And I was like, oh, shoot. Yeah, I got to cook for that
that's
wedding.
so cool.
I didn't get to
awesome.
see him because it was
Right,
private,
it was private.
But
hey, I mean,
know there were some other wrestlers that got to eat my food.
nice.
So that, I mean, not just mine, but the teams. But
It was
I
all him.
still have that story.
It was all him. Don't let him lie to you. Nah. he was the Gordon Ramsay in that kitchen that day.
I wish. But yeah, that was
awesome.
That was an experience.
That's awesome. Yeah, that'd be cool. My wife's cousin, his wife's parents were neighbors with John Cena for a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in Florida. Like he actually got to go to John Cena's wedding. It was the one he did before he got divorced and then engaged to Nikki Bella, but they got to go to his wedding and stuff. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. It's cool. got another spot for me, but nah, that was cool. I was like, oh man, that'd be sweet. Yeah. But my friend Abby, when she was down for some training in Georgia, she saw Darby Allin coming out of the airport. Like he was walking like to catch a train or something like that. And she almost said something, but she didn't want to bug him because, he's trying to just get home or wherever. And I was like, oh, that'd be neat. When James Ellsworth was in town for a show, my buddy George and Jason, they were at the gas station. He was at the same gas station getting gas, and he's very noticeable. He has a very distinct look. And so they got to see him, and like they waved to him, and he waved, acknowledged that they were cool, for not calling him out or whatever. But
dude, it's crazy how far we are, like what degree of separation we are from this famous people that we follow for a while.
For sure.
I have my buddy that works at Full Sail University.
Yeah.
Which is where they do the NXT stuff.
Yeah.
So he actually works with
nice.
Filming and all that stuff.
I had a buddy who did that same thing. Actually, he got to work a couple of those. He met Bobby Roode. He met I think he either was going to or he did meet Shawn Michaels. Which if he met Shawn Michaels, if I'm remembering that correctly, I'm still mad at him about, because you don't meet Shawn Michaels without me.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites.
But he got to meet. He actually became pretty good acquaintances with Ember Moon when she was still Ember Moon. Now she's Athena now, and then and stuff like that. He said it was a lot of fun and it was just super cool, and I was so jealous. I was like, oh man, dude, like this is my dream, but
it happens.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to bring up?
Not really. I mean, just if you haven't watched Ghostbusters, go check that out. Also, X-Men 97 did drop on Wednesday. It's a 2-episode premiere. The episodes 1 and 2 are fantastic. If you were a fan of the original X-Men series of any reason, check this out. It is phenomenal. They've upgraded a lot of the looks. The animation is upgraded, so you don't see random colors drop out anymore. Continues a great story. A lot of the voice actors from the original show are back. A few that couldn't make it were either passed on to a new person or have sadly passed away. The original voice actor for Cyclops being a main one. Big fan. And I will say this is not a spoiler. This is the first time in all the times that they've animated these characters, Cyclops' power is represented the right way.
Well,
Cyclops is always misinterpreted as having heat vision. It is concussive blast, kinetic blasts, and there's a move that he does where he shoots the ground to get out of the way of somebody, and it pushes him back, and then he uses it, and I'm just like, yes, because like my boy Cyclops is finally getting his due. So if you haven't checked that out, check it out. Check out Ghostbusters Frozen Empire if you haven't checked that out. Yachty, you got to check that out.
I will. Both of us. I'm gonna watch the X-Men tonight.
Yeah. Oh, dude, so good. 2 episodes.
I did see a little clip that made me want to.
Oh yeah, for sure. The trailer, like, it's so funny. I saw this meme. It was the where, if you ever seen Crazy Stupid Love.
I think I have.
So there's a scene where Steve Carell's character shows him his wallet, and it's a Velcro wallet, and he's just like kind of like, get away from me. Somebody said that's me when they play the original theme, because they kept the theme from the original series. They upgraded it, and like when it says skip intro, it's like No, like why would I skip this intro? So, yeah, classic. But yeah, not much else. Excited for WrestleMania. Can't believe it's almost here.
I know.
It's finally almost here. I'm ready for WrestleMania season to be over because I just want to watch it and I want to
So
see.
you want to see who wins?
Yeah, I want Cody. I want Cody to win, and I want. I'm hoping. Honestly, I think if Drew McIntyre does not resign, I think he'll take it off Seth. But I think Damian Priest will take it off him with the Money in the Bank because they keep talking about how he hasn't cashed it in yet, and it's getting close.
Wild card.
Yeah, so I'm hoping. I mean, regardless of what it is, I mean, even if he takes it off Cody, I mean,
that'll be hilarious. I actually would like that to happen just because it create something different.
Yeah, it's a different. It's you have something else. Like he beat Roman, but he still doesn't have the belt anymore. So It's like whatever they decide to do, I don't care at this point because.
Get it over with.
Yeah, just get over with. As long as Roman loses, I don't care.
Right.
Heck, have Cody come in and then Damian Priest cashes in the middle of the match, knocks out Roman Reigns and just wins. Oh man,
so many possibilities.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, not much else going on. Just living life and enjoying it and loving some wrestling. Ready for WrestleMania and ready for more X-Men.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching.
Have a good
Peace
one,
out.
guys.
Hey.